It covers everything, not just the environment, not just the Earth Summit. It covers everything from gun control to international treaties to eliminating borders to immigration to religion to taxes. It is the entire agenda for the United Nations. And so unless you're a big fan of what the United Nations has been doing over the last 60 years, you're probably opposed to every single one of their points.
Wow. And have they been successful in tackling some of these points already in that 900-page document?
They have been very successful. What they discovered, of course, right after 1992 is that in America, the politics was such that if you said, I'm from the United Nations or my plan is from the United Nations, congressmen and the senators and the presidential candidates were all against it because it polled badly and you couldn't support it, so they couldn't get their treaties done. So instead of trying the top-down approach, they created a top-down blueprint, and then they're selling it in little teeny pieces, one at a time, in local communities under the guise of the environment. But it has nothing to do with really saving the environment or responsible stewardship. It is about power and control.
So the main goal is power and control. It seems to always, when you peel the onion, it seems like what's always in the middle is power and control, isn't it? And money.
It is. It's what people pursue power for one of two aims. For the true conservative Judeo-Christian root of government, which is to establish justice on the earth, or they do it for selfish personal gain, and we either call it socialism, Marxism on the left, or on the right we call it crony capitalism.
Yeah, and so words matter, but it's more about the meaning of what's going on that matters the most. So I see this in the political world these days, is we have a lot of wordsmiths out there, and they just try to make things sound good, and they've obviously been focus grouped like crazy, each and every sentence, each and every word many times. And the real message nowadays, that people aren't really getting the real message, are they?
They're not. It's like what George Orwell wrote in 1948 with his book 1984. Words don't have any meaning anymore except what you pull them and want them to mean. But that's why we picked the word unsustainable, because that's a very important word. It's talking about sustainability and what is the right kind of sustainability. And then, of course, we have the logo in front of it, and people can find that at facebook.com/unsustainable movie. But the un is capitalized. It's UN, unsustainable, because their plan really is.
So why is this movie different from any other that's been out there or thought about in the past?
Well, most movies, whether they're from the right or the left, that are political documentaries, are what we call scary movies. They go, boogeyman coming, boo. And they take your $10 and you leave, and you're very disappointed, you're very dejected, and you don't know what to do about it. What we're going to do with Unsustainable, that Michael Moore has never done, that John Sullivan's never done, that Al Gore has never done, thankfully, is we are going to actually tell people the last few minutes of the movie, the steps they can take, how they can get involved, who they can contact to make a difference. And we don't care if they're on the right politically or on the left politically, because the most important thing we can do, Coach, is have a real, honest, and sincere dialogue on the environment without the crony capitalism and without the leftist politics involved.
Yeah, and Al Gore, I mean, what a piece of work. He preaches one thing and then makes money on the thing he's supposedly against.
Yeah, he made all his money in big oil, and he sold his television station to big oil terrorists in Al Jazeera. A hypocrite extraordinaire. He has hijacked the environmental movement, and the Republicans have ceded it. I mean, conservatives invented conservation movement. It is what our name is. Teddy Roosevelt was the creator of the national park system to preserve our heritage for our future generations and our posterity. And the Republicans have ceded this war of words to the left and then gone on. I'm going to make fun of one of our fellow talk show hosts. You know, you're a talk show host. I'm on your show. I have a show. But sometimes on the right, we get ones who say things like, today is Earth Day, so be sure you roll the window of your SUV down and leave the air on. Well, that's irresponsible.
Well, and you talk about sensible solutions to environmental and economic prosperity. Let's talk about the economic prosperity. What are some sensible solutions?
Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to understand that right now, solar energy and wind energy are not economically viable. They are made and manufactured using carbon energies, and they are using carbon energies to heat them and keep them running in the case of the wind generators. And they don't actually make money. They cost the taxpayers more. They take liberties away from people more. They cause taxes to go up. I am all for green energies that work. One of the greatest ones that work is geothermal.
I had just written that down right before you did that. I'm showing it to the producer. I'd written geothermal down. I really believe in geothermal. That's digging a hole down into the earth and using what's down there to generate windmills, or in effect, wind-generating turbines down there with the what comes up, and then also using the hot air to heat your houses.
Well, what it really uses is the principle that the earth itself, below the frost line, anywhere, whether you're in Texas or whether you're in Minnesota, is about 50 degrees. And so, therefore, you can pump that up as cooling in the summer where it's 80, or you can pump it up as heat when it's 20 below zero.
Keeping the constant temperature, keeping it just comfortable, and that's what all heating and air conditioning does, is keeps you comfortable. Geothermal makes a lot of sense, but I guess it hasn't fallen into those circles of the glamorous kind of life there that Al Gore could push.
Well, it's because it actually works. It works the same way that carbon fuels work. We've discovered all this natural gas in North Dakota, which is now the #1 economy in America, which has created jobs. We want the Canadian pipeline to come through here because it creates jobs. And here's where the Democrats have a conundrum. The unions want the pipeline, and the unions are required to elect the Democrat president. But the environmentalists that have hijacked the Democrat Party, the liberal environmentalists, not responsible people, don't want the pipeline because it might leak, even though there's no record of them leaking, even though we've had pipelines all across this country for generations that don't leak. We want to get the politics out of it, and we want to get the crony capitalism out of it, and just have a real debate on real science and real economics.
We talk about that word might. I mean, I might get in a wreck if I get in my car today. Should I not get in the car ever again? Or my plane might crash. Should I never get in a plane again? An asteroid might hit me right now when I'm talking to you, but should I just go and dig a hole and bury myself in a cave? That word might has gotten more people in trouble in history than any other word.
I would totally agree, but if you really want an answer to those questions, the environmentalist wackos would say, yes, we need fewer cars, and then that will help. Or we need speed limit controls, and that will help. Because their answer to everything is power and control, because we're smarter than you are. And that's what we want to attack. We don't want to attack clean air and clean water. That's ridiculous. We don't want to attack responsible stewardship. That's ridiculous. I don't want to roll my window down and waste my gas mileage and pay more in fuel costs while I'm driving across because it's not out today. That's silly.
Yep. Folks, thanks for listening to the Financial Safari today. Coming up next, we're going to check in again with your local trusted advisor.
Once again, here on the Financial Safari, we turn to our local expert there in the Denver Bay.
There's this little short segment on,
Brian Ditton.
I think it's 850 KLZ out of the Springs or Denver, AM local radio, talking about Agenda 21. Just thought it was worth recording there. Hope you guys got a kick out of it. Spread it around.